too early, and we will get going. It looks like our one viewer. Hello, this is a minute or two early, but it said I had a viewer waiting, and I don't want to have people join and see nothing and give up. This is 4th period, tech support, and today I'm going to go over the assignment and some of the plans for future stuff. Hopefully it's not too long. I want to get into a routine of doing one live video per week, 1 office hours per week, and depending on if the class has a third day, that third day will be posting material and rating and stuff like that. And of course, in this class for tech support, every day I'll open up the tickets, and if we have something to work on, you can send people or contact the teacher who has the issue remotely, depending on the situation, and we will do that today. So on Google Classroom today, I made a post that has a playlist for videos. If you click on it, you'll see that, of course, there's only one right now, which is the video you're watching, whether that's live or later. And if you notice, I changed the title because I want it to be super organized this semester, where if you look at something in PowerSchool and you see that some missing assignment or an upcoming assignment, you will see that the Google Classroom post is exactly the same name, and the video in the playlist is exactly the same name, and you should be able to match each thing to the material and the place to turn it in and the place where the grade shows up all throughout with less confusion, hopefully. And if we decide to change a little bit about the way this works, that's okay. I want to make refinements, but I don't want to make big changes because I want people to be able to get used to how it works and rely on it. So this playlist will have more stuff added later. Most classes I have live videos plus a few other things like, oh, here's a quick recording I made to answer some FAQs that I've been getting, stuff like that. So your classwork, I did not post a new assignment today, but I'll talk about this one and I'll talk about what the next one's going to be. And in addition to our tickets and inventory and stuff we do in the building, we're going to have a little bit of curriculum regarding IT stuff in general. And at the end, our plan is to make available you guys to take a certification exam, something we used to do called the A+. Several years ago, we had a teacher who made that available on the computers here where you could sit down and take it. I think this time we'll do it through Ivy Tech, but not set in stone yet. By the way, here is a link to some notes, and it is way more than you would look at in one sitting. Of course, I'm not asking you to memorize it all right now or anything, but it just shows the idea of like the kind of stuff that we're going to be looking at. Some of it is absolutely familiar to you, and you probably in your mind already are familiar with these different types of USB cables, and we use VGA all the time in the school, and we see these guys, the RCA and different types of slightly older video on our projectors. Just recently I had to look up the difference between the thinner phone cable versus the newer Ethernet. The RJ11 and RJ45, those just describe the little plastic part on the end that clicks. They don't describe the type of data or anything. But I was talking to somebody and I had to be able to say which one I was talking about, and I didn't know the word. I just had to go, oh, it's the little guy for the old phones. And, hopefully I learned this stuff and you guys learn this stuff too, so we can say the name of the thing instead of some kind of just barely held together description. And as we go, we'll learn some of this stuff about different types of printers and different types of cables and power and stuff like that. Don't worry though, we're not gonna overwhelm ourselves by doing too much at once. For a simpler version, I posted a link to this practice question for one part of the exam, and we're going to go through this today. And I asked you 3 questions. What are some of these things that you already know pretty well and that maybe you could pass a basic test on? If you look through these practice questions, I'm sure some of them are doable on your first glance. And then what are some of these that you kind of know, but you don't know the names, or you haven't actually done, but you've heard about? That's the real opportunity to learn, because the stuff that you're, in the mix already is where you can get a little more practice, or learn the official names, or do something for yourself that you've only seen others do, things like that. And then what are some that you have no idea? Those are hard to learn because it's hard to start from nothing, but you have to build up little bits at a time. And we can do that. So what I'm going to do today is go through these practice questions and maybe see, of course, I'm going to look over at the chat if any of the viewers, my viewer numbers are bouncing up and down. I don't know if somebody's trying to connect or opening multiple tabs of the same thing or what, but if you have a question in the chat, you can put it there and I'll hopefully see it. And if somebody has a question in the room, they're far away, which is why I have my mask off, but I have people in the room as well, then we can talk about that and maybe go over some of our thought process. Okay, so question 1 is probably one of those that you get on your first try, and it's not too bad. It says, which of the following devices provides the portability of a mobile phone and functionality of a laptop/desktop? That almost sounds like a sort of sales pitch or commercial. Is it a tablet? Is it a GPS unit? You probably don't ever use those because it's all just a built-in thing on your phone, but we used to carry around GPS. One of the main companies for that was Garmin. You would have a little rectangular device you put in your car or something. Now it's probably built into your phone or built into your car, and you don't have a specific GPS device, but it used to be a big thing. E-reader, like a Kindle or a Nook or something like that, or a fitness monitor. So what's the answer for that? Obviously, I don't think anyone would have trouble with this question. We're going to say it's a tablet because it's got the portability of a mobile phone. That's not a big thing because all of these are pretty portable, so that doesn't narrow it down. But the functionality of a laptop or desktop computer, GPS does not have that at all. It's just a map with location. E-reader might have a tiny bit of browser or bare bones desktop with icons if you're doing the upgraded Kindles or something. And a fitness monitor might be like an Apple Watch that has a little more interface and messaging and stuff. But if you want an actual OS with familiar stuff, you're gonna of course go with the tablet. So that one, not too bad. I don't think anyone would get that wrong if you had it on a real test and you thought about it for a second. Question 2. Now here's something we might be a little more close to what we see, because it starts off with a user brings in a smartphone for repair. The device is unable to send or receive calls or connect to Wi-Fi. Okay, so this is different things. The calls go through your cell data, and then the Wi-Fi is also unable to connect. So if it was just one of those, that would send us down a different path. If we were imagining our sort of flow chart of possibilities, but it's both. All applications on the device are working unless they require connectivity. Which of the following is most likely causing the problem? Okay, airplane mode. Got to tell you guys, they're making it a little easy by putting the right answers on A every time, but airplane mode is a pretty good candidate, right? Because airplane mode, if you hit that on your phone, it turns off. Let me test it to make sure I'm going to say something right. Oh, interesting. When I hit it on mine just now, it turned off the cell, but it kept the other stuff. I remember a few years ago when I would hit airplane mode, it would turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth as well. So maybe they realized that people would always turn those back on, or that those weren't really necessary to turn off in most airplane or airport settings. Not sure, but it used to be, and my guess is it was when the question was written, that airplane mode would turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, even though it's not on mine right now. Tethering is a phone thing. It's not like it's way off. Tethering is the idea of making your thing a hotspot and having like one device use the connection from another device. So if you, for example, have your Chromebook with no Wi-Fi and you connect it to your phone and it uses the cell data of your phone, that is a real thing and totally a candidate for causing some problems, but not these problems, not the unable to send and receive calls or connect to Wi-Fi. Seems pretty mismatched. With that disabled hotspot, maybe, especially that would relate to the Wi-Fi, but it wouldn't have anything to do with the calls, or you would have one but not the other. Because if you're using your phone as a hotspot, that would be somebody else is using your cell data as Wi-Fi. Or if your phone was trying to use something else as a hotspot. This is one of those things where like the logic in your head is very easy and quick, but when you try to say it in words, it takes 30 seconds to describe a simple thing. Or a VPN, that seems like it would affect the Wi-Fi sometimes, but it wouldn't affect your cell data at all. Or at least not the call part of it if you're using cell data for web or something maybe. So anyway, airplane mode is definitely right for this one, and I'm going to check that by scrolling down to the bottom, and they do have the answer key, so don't worry about picking one and just hoping it's right. They do have them on here. Let's get to the better stuff, the more interesting stuff. Question 3. Human Resource Manager requests wireless APs. That means access point, which is like the guy in the ceiling up here in my room, which you can see if you're in the room. I'm not going to tilt my camera to look at it because I'm a little worried about putting it back wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. The box in the ceiling that is sending out a signal for our Chromebooks to connect to, and not every room has one because they have a pretty good range. But anyway, this person wants to have wireless access points set up in the office, which means it's probably not a new network. It's probably just another bit of range to be covered by the network in this building or whatever. A server will manage the wireless settings, and authorized devices should be able to access confidential records over Wi-Fi. Okay, so there's when it gets good. You don't just want public Wi-Fi for this. You want people to, specific devices to access specific records that are probably not like, you know, CIA, Mission Impossible type security, but stuff that you don't want anybody to just connect from sitting outside or whatever. Which of the following settings should be configured to meet the requirements? Okay, so this is one of these that I am not 100% sure about. I've seen these terms before, and I've used these whenever I log into the school Wi-Fi. I know I have to click like WPA2 from a list, but I don't always know what I'm talking about. But let's see here, and let's see if we can go through. WPA encryption is one of the common things if you have Wi-Fi. What the heck does it stand for? I'm going to Google it, which is what you should do. And by the way, guys, the it's given me some Franklin Roosevelt history when he was starting up his New Deal programs. One of them was to have people work on government jobs, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about WPA Wi-Fi, which stands for Wi-Fi Protected Access. So sometimes you have Wi-Fi that you want people to connect to, like if you're in McDonald's or something. Other times you have people that you want to only let in some and not others. And so I'm sure you've seen this in real life. If you want to connect to Wi-Fi with a password, or if you want to have a username and password, or if you want to have more, that's what this question is about. So first, WVP, you might see that on a list whenever you're, going through your settings on a phone to connect to something, but it's pretty unlikely to ever see now. WPA is the one that we're talking about now, and WPA2 is just a more advanced version with more options and so on. And one element of it that they're going to say is that it takes more resources. It might have to have a slightly more powerful computer running it or something like that. And once you have that, might sort of be a default for you. So if we have to get into the difference between the two, that might be the crux of choosing which one is which. The next thing we need to learn is UPnP. PnP stands for plug and play, meaning in the old days it was talking about you could put a device in your computer without having to get drivers like I don't know, I think Windows 95 or Windows 98 was the first time that was a big feature, where you could say like, okay, I'm going to plug this in and it'll just automatically get the drivers or automatically use a driver that it already had ready to go in order to get your printer or your mouse or something working. Before then you would have to like physically install this thing with the disk. And that expanded so that plug and play is now occasionally used to talk about devices on a network and other things that are not like literally plugged. And the U in this case means universal, so that means like anybody can go up and plug into your system and use it. Seems unlikely we'd want that on this secure network, but let's see. And then on this third thing, we got a couple different modes of like determining who gets in. One is MAC filtering. MAC is a unique address that each device has. If you sometimes see that on a sticker, like on my phone, my classroom phone. If you look under here, it'll have the MAC address on one of these little stickers. Sometimes your internet devices at home might have that somewhere. Or sometimes you look it up in the settings, like if you're on a printer or a Chromecast or something, you can go through the settings and look up and find the MAC address. It's more permanent than an IP address, which could change. And so it's used for sometimes security type stuff, and where you can say, okay, this device can get on, specifically this one. And that might be nice for this type of office where you have just a couple people with a couple devices. You're going to let them on specifically and then just blanket ban all other devices. Okay, you might, another word for that is whitelisting, where you have specific guys who can access and then everything else can't. The opposite of that is blacklisting, where everything can except for the few that you mark down. So that seems unlikely to be the right answer. Now for this, I have to admit, it would take me a little bit of time to get into, to actually learn the difference between WPA and WPA2, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. And hey, it was the one with MAC filtering, and it was not the one with the universal plug and play, which I suspected. So would I have been able to guess that? Probably, not 100%, but if I had gone through it and used a little bit of deduction on a test, unless I was low on time, I probably would have done okay. Question 4 is the last one I'm going to look at, because I don't want to make this video to be, you know, a million minutes long. But which of the following technologies can be used for wireless payments? So this is another thing based on a little bit of security and what's authorized and what isn't, because when you're talking about payments, I'm sure you might have done it in Starbucks or in McDonald's or something, where you can hold up your phone or hold up your card next to a little thing. And that has to be secure, because you don't want to make it so that some guy on the other side of the room can scoop up that signal and get your info. NFC stands for near field communication. I do know that. And as far as I know, unless I'm wrong, that's what our ID cards use in the building in school when we scan in the morning and put our little code in the keypad. It's if you've ever heard of RFID, the radio frequency stuff, that's a part of NFC, and it's nice for security. not because it has a ton of encryption or whatever, but just because it is a really, really tiny range. So this is going to reach a couple centimeters away, and that is just completely unattainable if you're somebody sitting in a van on the other side of the street trying to scoop it up. Bluetooth, on the other hand, while it is a great thing, it's not secure, and it has a pretty big range, which means people, outside of the specific relationship between you and the device might get access. So, in fact, I am pretty sure that it is NFC, and I'm pretty sure that that is the right answer. So, if I look, yeah, that's right. Oh, the next one's so easy, and you guys know it because it's on your Chromebooks. Which of the following connector types can be plugged into a device both right side up and upside down? The classic thing with USB is that people are always annoyed that they try it once and they have to flip it because it can only go one way. If you remember those old memes about Boromir saying one does not simply walk into Mordor, there was a famous one like one does not simply plug in a USB the first time. USB-C, which is a newer thing, and it's the one you have on your Chromebooks, so you're probably used to it, is the one where the edges are rounded, and you can do that either way. So you probably know that even if you don't know what it's called, and hopefully throughout the course of this semester we're going to learn what that stuff is called. So as I look at the time, I want to make sure that this doesn't become a super long video, and it's in danger of doing so. So I'm going to leave off the last few questions. But I want you guys to do this assignment, which means what are some of these things you already know pretty well? What are some that you're kind of maybe? And what are some that you have no idea? I am not expecting any answers. If you say you know it all, okay. If you say you know none of it, that's fine, as long as you tell the truth and sort of have a honest assessment. If you write one word for each of these, that might not be enough. If you write a couple sentences, then we're getting somewhere. Okay. The point of all this is not that you should know it. It's that we're going to learn A, some of the info, and B, some of the process of how to get it. So the classic joke is that whenever you're doing computer jobs or whenever you're doing tech support, your main activity that you do every day is to Google stuff, right? If somebody has a problem, you Google the error code or you Google the idea, and you see like what some guy put on a forum in 2011. Hey, guess what? It usually works. So I can go ahead and tell you, I'm not going to post it yet, but your next assignment is going to be where you take a problem and lay out the steps of how you would solve it. So it's like, okay, here's the thing I don't know. I'm going to Google that thing, see what the basic definition is, go back to the original problem, get a few steps deeper, then Google the next part, see what other people have done with this particular problem, and sort of go through that algorithm or that flowchart of how you would address the problem. But I'm not going to post that yet because only one of these has been turned in so far, and I don't want to have people multiple assignments behind. So as I say, this semester I'm trying to be super organized. Same title in here as Power School as the video, and once everybody does it, we move on to the next, which is going to be the same title in here, Power School, video, etc. And if you take some time and look over these and really think about what you know and what you don't, that will help you on the next one. So I'm going to end this video. There's nothing in the chat, and take your time on that. The people in the room, they can work on it, or they can help me with some tickets if I see issues we need to work on. And the people at home, make sure you take your time and look over this stuff and get ready for the next assignment, which will be next time. Thanks, guys. Okay, that was way too long. I wish I